The feminine energy is being pushed to express her truth, while the masculine energy may still be integrating what has surfaced over the past few months. This current energy almost feels like afterpains after a birth, waves of pressure pushing truth to the surface. Your environment may react to these changes and it can feel very uncomfortable. But the good news is new energy is already on its way. Hi, I'm Hanneke. Welcome to this energy update for twin flames and divine counterparts. One of the most important movements happening right now, especially for twin flame connections, is Jupiter stationing direct. I'll first go a little bit into the astrology and then give some background on why Jupiter is so important for twin flame connections. So today, on March the 10th, when I'm recording this video, Jupiter stations direct. Now, what does that mean, Jupiter stationing direct? When Jupiter stations, it appears from Earth to stop moving before changing direction. And this moment is astrologically powerful because this planet's symbolism becomes very concentrated, and Jupiter represents meaning, faith and belief systems, growth and expansion, personal philosophy and direction in life. And when Jupiter is retrograde, growth turns inward. So instead of expanding externally, people tend to question their beliefs, reconsider their life direction, process past experiences, and redefine what truth or meaning feels like. And when Jupiter stations direct, the internal process reaches a turning point. So this shift is essentially moving from internal meaning to external direction. And it often coincides with decisions after a long period of reflection and with renewed confidence, with clarity about personal truth, and with stepping into a new stance. But the station itself can feel very intense because the energy pauses before it moves again. And what that means specifically in Cancer, because Jupiter has been moving through Cancer since June 2025, that it went retrograde in the beginning of November 2025. And so now it is stationing to go direct again. Now, Cancer governs emotional safety, belonging, family dynamics, home and roots, emotional vulnerability. And Jupiter in Cancer is traditionally considered very strong. And the deeper themes of this transit are emotional growth and redefining what safety means. I guess a lot of you will recognize that the past few months have been really about how do I feel safe in a connection? How can I manage my nervous system so I can feel safe in connections? And it's also about healing family patterns and learning how to nurture without losing yourself and creating environments where the heart can open. So when Jupiter stations direct in Cancer, the shift often revolves around emotional truth becoming a new life direction. And you may suddenly realize which relationships truly nourish you, where you no longer feel safe emotionally, and what kind of emotional environment you want to build. And it could also activate family events or emotional turning points because Cancer is strongly linked to lineage and family systems. So this whole Jupiter in Cancer cycle lasts about 13 months, and the retrograde phase has been the past 4 months. And now today, Jupiter is continuing to move forward in Cancer until late July 2026. This station phase where Jupiter stops and changes direction can be felt for about 7 to 10 days before and after today. So you may have been feeling it for the past week, and you may still feel this stationing for the next week. And you can feel it with heightened emotions and this sense of pressure to integrate something. And you can have big realizations about your belief systems and a feeling that something internally is turning because Jupiter rules meaning. That can feel like you suddenly understand something that you didn't before. But the moment of the station can feel paradoxical. Instead of immediate expansion, you might feel contraction, intensity, emotional processing. It can feel like a last compression before forward movement. It can feel like a sort of a spotlight where certain themes can become louder. And in this case, the question is, what emotional truth am I ready to stand in? Now, why is Jupiter especially relevant for twin flame connections? Some astrologers link Jupiter with the twin flame connection. And what I've seen happen in many connections is that when you look at your natal chart, you see that your Jupiter might fall in the sign of their sun or is very close to their sun sign and vice versa. I'm not saying this is a general rule and I'm not an expert in this, but this is definitely the case for my connection. And it makes astrological sense because when someone strongly activates your Jupiter, they often feel like someone who expands your life, opens your mind, and pushes your growth. Now, during a Jupiter retrograde, what can happen is that instead of growth happening through interaction with the other person, the process may shift towards internal reflection. So these retrograde periods can be phases where you both process things separately and there is more distance. They are periods where instead of expansion through the outer relationship, the focus becomes integration of what that connection has already activated. And when I look back at my own journey, Jupiter retrogrades for the past years have definitely marked periods of more distance, and the deepest separations happened through Jupiter retrograde. Now, it's very important to realize that the astrology is a collective energy that always holds a certain invitation, a certain push to explore certain themes. It does not determine your personal journey. And the way that I like to look at it is the more conscious you become of your own process, your own journey, the less impact that those collective invitations have. You just feel more stable within yourself and realize that the energy is just helping you to go deeper. And it just also really depends on where you are in your own journey and what your personal natal chart is, whether you feel this strongly or maybe it's just a gentle invitation. Now let's get back to the current astrology. As I said earlier in this video, the deeper question that is activated by Jupiter in this moment is, what emotional truth am I ready to stand in? And this is really being influenced by Venus going into Aries. Venus already moved into Aries on March the 6th. And when she moves into Aries, the relational energy shifts from harmony seeking to truth seeking. Venus normally represents love and relationships, attractions, values, emotional connection. But Aries represents courage, instinct, action, individuality, and honesty. And when these two combine, the relational dynamic becomes more direct and instinctive. And typical expressions of Venus in Aries energy are that you might say things that you would normally keep hidden or more polite. You might express your feelings more quickly, relational tensions surface faster, boundaries become clearer. And you can call this love in its raw form before diplomacy. And that's why this transit often coincides with moments where people suddenly say, this is what I actually feel. This doesn't work for me anymore. I'm going to express this even if it creates friction. So the deeper theme is authenticity over harmony. And this can feel confrontational. Venus is actually not very comfortable in Aries because she prefers cooperation and mutual attunement. And Aries prefers independence and self-direction. So the energy can create this push-pull dynamic in relationships. Love wants connection, but Aries wants autonomy. And that tension can produce the courage to speak truth, but difficulty to sustain harmony. And if we place this specific moment in time into the larger astrology that has happened the past few weeks, then you can see that there is this very specific pattern that is arising. We had the Virgo eclipse where emotional truth surfaced. And then we have also Mercury that is retrograde for the moment. And it means that conversations revisit old themes, and these conversations can also be in your own mind. We had Mercury Kazemi, which is a moment of sudden inner clarity or realization that happened on March the 7th. And we also had Venus in Aries, which is really pushing you to finally say or do something honest. The deeper archetype of this transit is love that chooses truth, even if that truth risks rejection. And that can feel both liberating and destabilizing at the same time. With Mercury still going retrograde in Pisces, our minds are not just analyzing facts, but are really trying to understand the emotional meaning of what happened. And that you can feel that like you think you have understood something in one moment, and then a few hours later, the mind revisits the same situation again from another angle. So it might feel like you're looping. Just know that that is not abnormal. So what can happen under the influence of these transits is that the feminine really can feel this impulse to express emotional truth more directly. She has really been exploring her own boundaries again and again, and was trying to integrate love and boundaries, which was one of my previous videos. So if that's what you also experience, you can watch that video. The feminine energy is coming to that point where she sees the fear for what it is and decides to no longer let herself be ruled by the fear. And Venus in Aries really offers her the courage to speak her boundaries clearly, even if they do not match the boundaries of the other person, while at the same time still holding love. And the masculine energy may still be processing what has surfaced for the past few months, and he may still need space to integrate. And this difference in timing can create temporary tension. The difference in timing does not necessarily mean that the connection is breaking. It could or it couldn't. There's nothing that I can say about that, but it can also just reflect that one of you has reached expression while the other is still integrating. And as always, this can be felt in your inner polarities as well. What happens in your relationships mirrors what's going on internally in your own balance between masculine and feminine energies. And the way that this can feel is that your feminine energy reaches a point where she says, let's not be ruled by fear anymore, but the masculine energy is still processing that. The feminine energy comes to a point where she can allow the masculine to process, because she can feel and express her truth and she can hold it. And this means that the pressure on the masculine energy is being released. So what's important here is, if you feel this urge from Venus in Aries to speak your truth, be very mindful that it comes from a place of standing in your power, in compassion, that you have integrated your own tension before you speak. Speaking your truth is not about trying to change the situation or trying to change another person. It is about expressing, this is who I am, this is my boundary, and I'm not hiding, I'm showing up, but I'm showing up from a place of compassion and knowing and feeling who I am. And it is from that place that you can allow another person to be themselves and hold their own boundaries as well. And sometimes it means that the boundaries don't match. And yes, this eclipse season revealed whether love and boundaries can coexist within the same system. And now this process begins to show what that actually means in real life. Sometimes emotional truth brings two people closer together, and sometimes it reveals that two people may both be acting from sincerity while their boundaries and emotional timing just don't align. And this phase asks for deeper maturity. It invites the ability to remain connected to love while also remaining loyal to your own boundaries. Now, what can also happen is that you will be tested by your environment, whether you can stand in your newly refined truth. Whatever feedback is coming from the environment, it's an invitation to feel within yourself. Where am I not standing strong in this? How is this creating self-doubt? The coming days will continue this integration process. Mercury will remain retrograde in Pisces until March the 20th. Venus will remain in Aries until the beginning of April. And around March the 13th, Mars aligns with the North Node. And Mars represents action and direction, and the North Node points towards evolutionary movement. And when these two meet, the energy can feel like a push towards a decisive moment and a new direction. So while Mercury is still reviewing the past, another part of you, of your system, may already begin to feel this pull towards the future. And all of this builds towards the Equinox on March the 20th, where the sun enters Aries, marking the equinox and the start of the new zodiac cycle. And this functions like a reset point. The energy shifts from Pisces, which represents emotional processing, into Aries, which is associated with direction and action and self-definition. And at that point, we're really going to move into what we will do with the truth that we have discovered. And that timing is exactly why I chose March 21st to open my Sacred Union course. It's a 3-month journey through 11 integration keys where we work on stabilizing inner polarity, on emotional maturity, and the ability to hold love and boundaries. Because Sacred Union becomes possible when our inner structure is strong enough, has the capacity to hold both our truth and this incredible divine connection at the same time. This journey really is about building this inner coherence that makes real union sustainable. And if you're ready for that level of integration, if you are ready to choose your own integration, to really explore what your connection is showing you, is activating in you, to go deeper into what am I here for? What's the mission of my soul? And if you're really ready to tend to your own garden, to plant your own seeds, to create this beautiful inner space that can be mirrored on the outside, then you are very welcome to join. Enrollment is open now. There is a big discount for the moment. You can join for that price until March 21st. After that, you're still very welcome to join, but the prices will go up. So if you're interested, I will put the link up. I really hope to see you there. If you'd like to go deeper into what sacred union actually is, I've created a video about this. I will put it at the end of this video, and there I go really deep into what is sacred union, what does it feel like, how does it start, how do you know you're on this journey, and how do you integrate this. But for now, really take the time to integrate everything that has been surfacing. Clarity is already forming, and with this equinox, the new chapter will begin. As always, I'd love to read how you are experiencing this. Is this also what's been happening for you? Anything that you would like to share, please put it in the comments. And I'm sending you a lot of love. Bye.